97.5, the Fanatic, Philadelphia.
It's an afternoon. It is an afternoon here in the city of Philadelphia. The best show ever here on 97.5, the Fanatic, NBC Sports Philadelphia. 610-632-0975. Let's get right to our word of the day today. The word of the day today is smart. Smart. And the Sixers last night in the fourth quarter, when it comes down to it, did not play smart. Now, you can miss shots. That happens in sports. Other teams are going to make shots. Things happen. But when you start 1 for 11 from the field to start the game, dig your way out of the hole and have the lead in the fourth quarter, despite bad referees, despite a lot of things, you have to play smart. In the fourth quarter, it was clear there were only two players capable of scoring a basket on that Sixers team. That was Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. And from coach down to 12th man, everyone should have known that. And that includes James Harden. And somehow, despite anybody who's ever seen a basketball game knowing that, instead they went and did whatever the hell that was supposed to be. They barely scored in the fourth quarter, and now we have a Game 7 in Boston because the Sixers didn't play smart. If those same misses came from Embiid and Maxey, I can live with them, but instead they're coming from Harden with turnovers. They're coming from Melton. They're coming from Tobias. They're coming from PJ, the motivational speaker, more than basketball player last night, Tucker. What we needed was smart basketball. Instead, we got slop.
I'm gutted. And James Harden, he is the difference maker in this series game by game. When he's on it, they win. They have 3 victories when he shows up, and not just scoring points. It's not about him dropping 40-plus because you can't ask him to do that every single night, but play a smart game. Get your team involved. I'm watching Joel Embiid. This is earlier, not down the stretch, but Marcus Smart is on him, and Embiid's got both hands up saying, get me the ball. I have a mismatch. They can't even get him the basketball. He didn't even get an opportunity to. And like you said, I'm willing to go down and sink with the ship if it's our best players missing shots, but I'm not okay with losing when it's DeAnthony Melton jacking up threes and it not falling. So, I'm just irritated, and it does come down to Harden. When he no-shows, this team doesn't have a chance. When he's there, you win 3 games, and that's how you won. So, it eats me alive. I'm not broken as much as everyone else is broken, but I'm pissed off with what I saw yesterday. I still have faith, but I'm pissed with what I saw on the floor.
That fourth quarter was a little disturbing. I mean, to say the least. Harden just was not there, non-existent. I thought they were stale. I thought the offense was stale. I thought they were tight in the fourth quarter. Why are they tight? You are at home. This is your game. Take it over. Harden doesn't get the ball for 4 minutes? What the hell are the Sixers thinking? I mean, in the bottom line is, who is your best player on that court? Joel Embiid is your best player on the court. Get him the ball late in the ball game. Let him take over. That is what stars do. That's what MVPs do. You didn't see that happen. I understand you look at the bench. Bench didn't do anything for this ball club last night. I am baffled as far as how everything played out. Tatum's 0 for 10 in the first half. Come on, guys. You got to have a 10, 15-point lead at that point. When their best player is not shooting the ball well, that's where you have to stand up. You look at the threes. Last game, the Celtics couldn't shoot a 3 for their lives. It turned around on the Sixers. It was completely opposite in Game 6. They have to get ready to play Game 7. I am not completely out of this. I think they come back and they're going to show up in Game 7. They're probably going to win Game 7, and we're going to be able to forget about this disaster that happened last night. But the stale play of James Harden in the fourth quarter last night was the ballgame.
There's always multiple places to put blame. You want to put blame on Embiid? I don't care where you put the blame, honestly. You put it wherever you feel comfortable putting the blame. I don't care where you put it. But there's certain things you have to recognize, and that Harden has the ball every possession he's in the game. That's the part that separates a guy like him when he has a bad game and Tobias Harris, who also had a horrible game. The gap is Harden touches the ball way more, so he ends up having a larger effect on the game. Even though Tobias was every bit as bad offensively as Harden was, it doesn't look quite as bad because he doesn't have the ball every possession like Harden does. Late in the game, after the referees, now we'll get to the referees. They are not the reason why the Sixers lost the game at all. The Sixers lost the game because of the Sixers. The Sixers lost the game because of the Sixers. Once again, the Sixers lost the game because of the Sixers. At the same time, those referees, I don't see how you let them do another playoff game after how poor they were. So Embiid makes 2 foul shots at that point where you think he now has 28 points and the Sixers are up. Now they have to go back and fix it. Now they couldn't fix the goaltend or a bunch of the other calls they messed up. Now they stop the game, and Maxey now has to go to the line and make 2 free throws, but it completely stops everything. They have to stop because that was after the review where clearly the ball goes off Williams' hands, off his head. Doc calls timeout, and then they have to review that. Then when that's over, then they send Maxey now to the foul shot. So there's this long lull where the game has completely stopped.
Like 15 minutes.
Right, where the game just completely stopped, this long lull. After the lull, the Sixers did absolutely nothing offensively. Now, again, the Sixers lost because of the Sixers. But after that lull, at that point, the Sixers do nothing offensively. Those referees can't be allowed to do another playoff game. They affected the game. Now, did they cause the Sixers to lose? No, the Sixers are right if they lost. But if you respect your league, you can't have them doing any other games. But Harden then comes down the floor after all of that mess. Sixers with the lead. They run a pick and roll. And for whatever reason, with Embiid, the go-to play, the play that has been the most reliable play in the NBA this year. And for whatever reason, Harden keeps it. Harden keeps it. It does not lead to points. Go down, Tatum 3. They come down again. Maxey takes a shot. He misses. I can live with that. Tatum another 3. They come down. The pick and roll is there again. Harden keeps it again. This time he turns the ball over. Another Tatum 3. Now the game's over. Now the game's over. Tatum, he comes down again, and then he falls down this time. Turnover. It's magnified with Harden because Harden always has the ball. He just did not play a smart basketball game late in the fourth quarter.
He's wildly inconsistent, and that's why it makes it even more frustrating. You need the guy with the ball in his hands to be your most consistent player because everything forms off of that. Now, they did have some wide open looks, and I'm speaking less than not just fourth quarter stuff, just in general. 23.5 from three is not going to cut it.
Right.
Marcus Smart's drilling threes to keep them involved.
Yep.
Malcolm Brogdon off the bench kept them involved.
He played great.
He did, and this is, you're watching a Jason Tatum struggle all throughout. His teammates had his back until Jason Tatum was able to deliver in the most important times of the game. But I thought Ricky hit on a big point. Look, it's been a few games in a row that Tatum has struggled, but 0 for 10 at half, and you look and you're down 7. You're down at half when their best players suck.
That was my biggest problem in the game is that this guy is struggling this much, and you guys are down in the game. How?
Well, because they were 6 for 25 on wide open threes.
I understand that, but I mean,
that was the whole thing. The Sixers were missing while they were. Unfortunately, you can't pick when you're going to make. We'll make shots when Tatum. They were 6 for 25 with Harden. They were 6 for 25 on wide open threes last night. Booney looked it up. On what NBA considers wide open, they were 6 for 25 on wide open threes. That is both why they lost and also why you should have hope for Game 7. Because nobody's 6 for 25 on wide open threes in 2 games in a row.
Tell me you weren't happy when PJ hit his first one.
You're
first thinking to yourself, yes, he's going to be hot tonight, and they're not going to know what to do defensively.
And this is what I've been talking about, where we have to stop being ourselves sometimes. Everybody was so happy that PJ Tucker yelled at Joel Embiid. Great, by the way. I'm not saying that was bad. But we forgot about the basketball part. The Celtics go double big because they don't respect PJ Tucker as a threat. So they leave him wide open in the corner. And he made up one early, and then throughout the game, they kept leaving him open. And then they're shading people towards Embiid. They're shading people towards Harden because they don't respect the motivational speaker because when he's not making shots, that's all he is at that point. Did you notice? Did he have all those game-changing offensive rebounds last night, Mr. Tucker?
No, the biggest offensive board was DeAnthony Melton underneath the basket with the wild pass out to Niang.
Right.
That's
what I'm saying.
And you're absolutely right. You keep him out there in three-point land, he's not going to get those offensive rebounds for you.
And then they bring in, you brought up Melton. Because it's not, again, Embiid, you want to say he didn't get the ball enough or didn't demand the ball enough? Fine. I'm saying blame anybody you want. Blame anybody you want. Harden was terrible. Blame whoever you want. But DeAnthony Melton. Now listen, you replace Danny Green. One thing Danny Green will be able to do till he's 95 years old is make wide open corner threes. Melton standing out there in the fourth quarter, wide open. Clang. That poor basketball. I went to the precinct with him, and we filed a complaint against Melton and P.J. Tucker and Tobias Harris, an assault charge on that poor basketball. Ooh. Me and Mr. Spalding went down there. They passed to Melton again. Clang. Now, meanwhile, the ball is saying no more. Pass it to Embiid. Give it to Maxey. The ball said no. No means no. He gets the game ball again. Clangs it again off metal. That poor basketball. I'm telling you, in a wide open three game, just so I can reiterate this one more time. Wide open threes. The Sixers 6 for 25. The Celtics 7 for 14. And unfortunately, that's your basketball game last night. Now we look ahead to game 7. So listen, whatever you want to talk about as far as that goes, we'll talk about it. Because there's blame to go all around. But if one person isn't better, the person who has the ball every possession, if he's not better, they go home on Sunday, and there's nothing that Embiid, Maxey, Tobias, Melton, P.J. Tucker, the motivational speaker, House, no one can do it about it because one guy touches the ball more than everyone else. And when he stinks, they stink, and he stunk last night. We'll be back here on 97.5 The Fanatic, NBC Sports, Philadelphia. And now time to start our Twitter poll with Jen Scordo. Hello, Jen.
Hello there, guys. Who do you blame most for the Sixers' loss last night? You can have 4 answers on a Twitter poll, so this is the 4 you get to choose from. James Harden, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, or Doc Rivers. We are, I won't say neck and neck, but it's kind of close here at early votes. 19% Joel Embiid, 22% Tobias Harris, 27% Doc Rivers, and 32% James Harden.
So I'm looking at these early votes now. So in order, going Harden, Doc, Tobias, Embiid. Now, Embiid always has to get blamed as the best player when you lose. So I got no problem with anybody voting for him.
That's true, yeah.
Doc Rivers, I maybe call a timeout and force the ball to Embiid and maybe do some pick and roll things with Maxey and Embiid and take Harden away from the ball. That falls on Doc. Tobias was a complete no-show offensively. But for me, the person with the ball, if you watch the game, to me, Harden has to take the majority. Not all of the blame. Again, Embiid has to take blame. P.J. Tucker, everyone has to take blame. I make it very clear that when we're saying the majority, we're not saying put it all on one person. But Harden, especially in the fourth, with the ball, was flat horrendous.
I lean the same exact way, and I was saying this when he was scoring points and when he even just facilitated the game nicely for one of their wins. This team's identity changes when he's locked in and playing well. Yeah. When he's driving the cup and he's falling all over the place and he's looking for the fouls and he's putting his hands up, screaming at the ref's face, everybody else is standing around watching, and it turns into a disaster on the offensive side of the floor. So I just think he was making bad decisions, and he wasn't getting the teammates the ball, and that's when this team thrives, is when he's operating, he's reading the defense nicely, he's getting his teammates open looks, and that was not the case when we needed it most.
I'm surprised that people are actually going to Doc on this one. I mean, you look at the 8 for 34 from three-point land, that to me tells a story that, okay, you make even 8 more of those, it's completely different, or 6 more of those, completely different game. So to me, it's on the players. There's enough blame to go around with the players on this one. I think you're absolutely right about the Harden situation, especially late in this ball game. And I just think get the ball to Embiid. Maybe trying to overthink the offense a little bit coming down the court. I don't know. But I'm just saying, if I'm leading that team up the court, I'm getting the ball to Embiid.
He played. Tobias Harris played 42 minutes.
1 for 7.
2, 6, and 3 was his stat line.
We were talking about it before the show started. He misses a layup, and it's a 3 the other way.
It's just what I'm saying. It's a lot of things in the game last night. You can always blame the star and B. You absolutely can. I just couldn't get over a couple of times in the pick and roll late. The pick and roll that won you the previous game. Now's the time to go back to that over and over again. And if Embiid misses, then at that point, what can I do? But for Harden not to throw to him, and there's one where Embiid was visibly angry that he didn't get the ball. You got to throw to him in the pick and roll. The play call is there and designed for Embiid to touch it. Make him touch it because you got to be smart enough to know you don't have it. And Harden, I don't know, was he thinking, this is my moment? Was he thinking this is the time? And he was complaining about the refs. No one was victimized worse than the refs than Embiid was last night. No individual was more taken advantage of by the refs than Embiid. So Harden complaining about it. Maybe they missed a call or two. That goaltending call was the worst call I've ever seen in sports. In any sport, ever, it's the worst call I've ever seen.
I got to tell you, how about the Marcus Smart pirouette? There's no way he didn't travel doing that. When he ended up passing the ball, I believe, to Horford.
It was Horford. I thought his foot stayed on the ground there.
There's no way. He had already stopped taking 2 steps. He turned all the way around. How do you not move your foot?
His pivot foot stayed on the ground. I think it was his other foot that was moving. But regardless, there's so much that happened outside of that. I feel like we got robbed of an awesome Joel Embiid game defensively. Like, we won't talk about some of his defensive efforts because they fell. But, man, that block, and he saves the ball from going out of bounds, which led to a George Niang 3 on the transition. There was a time where that building was rocking, and it just felt like the Sixers had it in their grasp, and they were going to overcome the slow start and the 13-3 start or whatever it was from Boston before Doc called that timeout. It just seemed like it was in their fingertips.
It was.
And then they scored, I know it was 13 on the box score, but I don't count the final 2. They scored 11 points in the fourth quarter when they needed it most. How was it that ugly? I can't get over it. It is pissing me off.
I can tell you, because at the end of the day, when you got a player who's ball dominant like that, if he doesn't get people the ball, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. That's why it's not just him. It's just that he has the ball a lot. And when one player has the ball a lot, when he's bad, it puts more onus on it. And nothing flowed because nothing he did seemed to make sense. And then some of the plays where Embiid's doubled. And they're saying, Doc's in the timeout. They cut to it. Because I watched a lot of the game on mute because, I just watched a lot of the game on mute. So I unmuted for the timeout. And Doc's saying, run the offense. Trust the plays. He's saying this. So I believe some of these play calls are doubled, kick to the corner. Because that's where the open guy is. And that was Tucker and Melton a lot during that stretch. When it was Niang, he made a shot. But other than that, guys weren't making it out there. Maybe Embiid at that point has to say, bleep the play, and I'm just shooting over the double team. Because I might make it, and these cats aren't. Because it became very clear that Melton had no chance. Like after the second one, and then the third, fourth, fifth one as it goes up, it's coming out of his hand like a hand grenade. Like he's just trying to get close enough to the rim to where if it detonates, it can hit the rim. He's not trying to get a bullseye. That's what it seemed like when he's out there shooting some of those threes. It looked like he was just, that's close enough.
It hurts putting your head down at night on the pillow and knowing that, we lost the game with DeAnthony Melton taking these shots. Yeah. It's hard for me to fathom. That's really Game 6 closeout. You have a chance to go to the Eastern Conference Finals, and with the game on the line, DeAnthony Melton, how was Embiid not grabbing the ball and then either jab stepping Al Horford and Robert Williams to death, making that jump shot from the nail? How is that not what we're doing?
Well, because trust the plays. And then I got to deal with troll engineers now in the building. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes it's ha. Sometimes I might come out of the studio and be willing to get fired. You don't know which one of me showed up that day. Do I really want to work here? Or would taking Rob Grussman out through the window and him falling 4 floors to the parking lot on top of the car, would that be worth it? I don't know which kind of day I'm having today, but I do come times with the latter. You never know. Sometimes it's the former, but sometimes it's the latter. Let's go to the phone.
Wow.
Malik in Philly. We're on 97.5
Throwing
The
people out
Fanatic. Hello, Malik.
windows.
Malik, what's happening?
Hey, let me say this. I want to give y'all guys some props first, right, before I start my conversation. If the best show ever was a singing group, you guys would be the best quartet.
Thank you.
Because the idea of having you guys together, bouncing off one another, is amazing. You guys do a great job. Your analysis is spot on. I love y'all for that.
Thank you.
Tyrone, I've been listening to a lot of sports talk radio today, and your observation is spot on. All of your guys' observations are spot on. Yours, Hunter, Ricky, yours as well. But the thing that sticks out, Tyrone, you got it. You hit the nail right on the head. The Sixers did not play smart basketball. And the thing that ties into them not playing smart basketball is the momentum. One thing about players have to know when the momentum shifts and is key. And there's times when Harden, when they had the momentum after they had the breakaway layup, the foul play, where Embiid took the foul shots, and then after everything was resolved, Maxey took the shots. Harden comes down and shoots a three-pointer instead of getting the ball into Embiid, or at least get a better shot. Mm-hmm. Then he comes down another play, throws the ball up looking for a foul. So these are key momentum plays. On the other hand, you have Jason Tatum, who comes down, recognizes the moment, seizes the moment by making the shot. Smart basketball players that do smart things at the end of games, and I just feel like that was one of the key things in the game. They didn't play smart down the stretch. The other key factor is the fact that they didn't have the shooters. They don't, they have to play perfectly to win against Boston, and that means that when you have open shots, you just have to hit them.
Unfortunately,
make and mix league.
You're right, Malik. Unfortunately, they don't have the luxury, thanks for the call, for this many people to be cold. Now, Embiid was like 1 for 7 to start. If you look at his percentage from that on, he shot pretty well. Maxey shot pretty well. Outside of them, you're dealing with Maxey ice cold, Tobias ice cold, P.J. Tucker ice cold, Melton ice cold. It didn't work with House when he tried it again. Unfortunately, the Sixers are, you see by it, like the 26 from Embiid, if you score, that's 86 points. If that's 105, 110, that's damn near 40. It's 26 out of 86. You scored in the 80s in a playoff game. In the 80s in a playoff game in 2023. Not in 2002. 2023, they scored in the 80s. And 2 of your players had 52 of the 86. Harden and Maxey had 52 of 86. That's disgusting. It's just bad basketball. 610-632-0975. Well, listen, we're going to let the people have their reaction today. I don't see a choice. And at some point later on, we'll look ahead to Game 7. We'll be back here on 97.5 The Fanatic, NBC Sports Philadelphia. Where today is smart, just wasn't smart basketball. You had 2 players offensively that could do a thing yesterday. They should have taken every shot in the fourth quarter. Unfortunately, Harden had to harden, and it all went from there. It's not just him, but how come he didn't recognize it? Again, Maxey and Embiid had 52 of 86 points. 9 players played. So you just do some simple math there. I'm a sucker for math. So you do 86 minus 52. That leaves 34 total points. You divide that by 7 other players, and that means everyone else that played in the game other than Maxey and Embiid averaged 4.857 points per game. How are they not the only 2 that are taking shots late? Doc Rivers, Harden, everyone must know it's now 2-man game, Maxey and Embiid, and that's it. The rest of you all are glorified decoys, offensive rebounders, etc. And instead, we get pick-and-roll plays designed to go to Embiid that Harden keeps the ball on several possessions in a row.
This is the only thing I could think of. And I hate this answer. I'm just telling you, I'm trying to logically break this thing down and realize why it was what it was. So we watched Tatum blow for majority of the game.
Yeah.
With the game on the line, he showed up. Harden's probably thinking,
Yeah. There it is.
I don't care that I sucked.
Yeah.
I don't care
it.
that I was miserable.
You nailed it, by the way.
I'm going to try and take over here in the
That's
fourth.
exactly what my thought was.
Okay,
if he could do it, I could do it.
But he's smarter than that.
No, he's not. No, he's
He
not.
should be, though,
He
because
should be.
the number one thing I always praise, and we all do about James Harden, is he's such a smart basketball player. He sees the floor. He gets his teammates all these great looks. Like, that's what his MO is. He's a very intelligent basketball player, the way that he could break down the game.
Well, the only other reasoning behind this is they got tight. He got tight. And I have a hard time believing he's been around so long that he would have been tight in a Game 6.
I agree. Now, to add on to what I've been saying, other than Maxey and Harden, the only two guys who could throw it in the ocean last night, just to illustrate it, because, again, I'm a sucker for the math. I'm a prisoner to the math. The other 7 who played, other than those two, shot 12 of 24, 27% in the game, other than Maxey and Embiid. They shot 27.3%. And I'm not saying Embiid is blameless, is that Embiid needs to take some of those shots instead of those other guys. What I'm saying is that it's getting drilled during the timeouts. Trust the plays, run the offense. Now, certain players say, forget all that, I'm going to go get mine, and we're going to go win the game. But Tatum's shots, for example, were in the flow. The ball moves. Tatum's open for a 3. Late, bang, he had been missing all day. He took them. The pick and roll plays that were called, there's no way those were designed for Harden to keep him. He's falling on the ground. Now, I'm not talking about falling on the ground just because he's falling on the ground and losing the ball and it's leading to a fast break the other end. When, before the fall, the pass was there. Fall all you want after you pass it to Embiid, who might make it, versus you and everyone else who has no chance to make the shot. That's what was so disappointing. And actually, hold on, that included Springer's bucket. So if you don't include Springer's one shot, they shot 25.6%. The other main guys other than Maxey and Embiid last
That's
night.
terrible.
Ew.
25 points. That's also why they can win Game 7.
Ty, you mentioned, I agree.
That's also why they can win
We'll
Game
get
7.
there. I still need to get off this frustration, but I agree with you there. Now, you brought up House. I can't expect him to be what he was in the previous game, but, man, did you see him try and fight for that loose ball? He got thrown like 8 feet, man. He got out-muscled, outworked. He fell face first on the ground. Come on, man.
I try not to knock guys who just didn't lift enough weights.
Come on, man.
I don't think he had the strength. It's not his fault.
What are you supposed to say here?
I think this is where I'm in a tough spot. Like, all right, you know that every guy, we're back to the phones in a moment. Every guy's worst nightmare is this. You're out with your significant other. In your case, you're out with bros.
Yep.
For some reason, her little behind decides to get in an argument with some guy. And she picks a guy who's 6'8", 290 pounds of muscle. Now you're at a spot where you got to fight the guy. And you're looking at her like you couldn't find this 5'8" guy. You got to go find him. What? Because you know that, yes, you have to fight him, but there's no chance you're going to win. I feel like that's what House was in that situation. He went for the ball because he had to, but he had no chance of getting it.
That's a good comparison.
You guys should not have watched that video of the girl getting thrown around with her hair yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it was.
I probably should have told Broads at that point, you couldn't have found me Ricky Bo. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, boy.
I'm just saying.
Shot fired.
Ricky, listen, I got a lot of emotions to get off my chest today, so if you could just take that would be fantastic.
I'm going to let it go, but you still didn't congratulate Jen from yesterday either.
That's fine. No one deserves it. Sixers lost. I'm pissed. That's where we're at.
No. We're going back to the phones. But at least you didn't denigrate Jen.
That's true.
That's
did not.
true, too. You didn't tell her to
This
shove
was
it.
a step forward. Okay, you
Shove
just
it.
took your loss.
You did not do that.
Yes, you
Thank
just
you.
took your loss.
Thank you.
All right. That was a moment of levity, but we know that the anger's out there. We'll get to Game 7 later in the program.
It's going to be a fight.
Yeah, it's going to be a
great.
fight. Yep. Let's go to the foes. Corey in the Northeast, of course, talking about the Sixers. You're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's up, Corey?
What's up? Tyrone, what's up? Ricky.
What's going
How
on?
you doing?
What's up, guys? How you doing? I know the Sixers. I know the Sixers will win, and I know they need to cover the open man with the threes, like Malcolm Brogdon, and they'll win. They need to cover the open man. They have to, and they'll win the game. They have to.
I hear what you're saying, Corey, and you're not wrong. But just so you know, as far as wide open threes go, just so we got it clear, the Celtics got 14, and you can say that's too many. The Sixers got 25.
Sounds like the Indiana Pacers from 2000. Indiana Pacers and the Warriors. Sounds like the Warriors too, man.
Right. What I'm saying is that the Sixers got 11 more wide open threes than the Celtics did, and made one less than the Celtics did last night. They earned, with their ball movement, however they got it, 11 more wide open threes than the Celtics did, and they made one less despite having, and thanks for the call, despite having 11 more. So this is clear. It's some defense, but a lot of this was their offense. In fact, I'm totally comfortable. If the Celtics score, I'll say this right now, if the Celtics score 95 points in Game 7, not only do the Sixers win by double digits. I'm very comfortable saying that.
They're averaging, 115?
Yeah, they scored 95. The Sixers' problem was they scored 86.
86.
And two players had 52 of them.
Here's Rich Hoffman's tweet last night. 90.5 offensive rating for the Sixers, which is tied for their worst offensive performance all year.
Right. It was the offense last night.
He also brought up Boston's double big lineup.
Yeah.
In 19 minutes, they had 105 offensive rating and an 80 defensive rating, which suffocated the Sixers.
Yeah.
So that was a tactic move by Joe Mazzulla. That worked.
And it was because the corner threes didn't fall. And this is where, I'm going to say it again, Philadelphia, we love rah-rah. He got to be. He told him, when does he make open shots? Now it's the playoffs. He can't just be a motivational speaker. He has to make wide-open basketball plays when he gets the ball. And also be a motivational speaker. I'm not telling him not to get in Embiid's face. If he's yelling at Embiid right now, I'm great with it. But if Embiid gets doubled or tripled and he kicks it out to the corner because they got double bigs in the game and they're not even thinking about covering them, he must make the shots. He must make a couple of those shots. That is also in his job description. It's not only yelling at Embiid. Is that fair?
It's very fair.
And that's why the worked, because they didn't fear him and he didn't make them pay.
Well, here's the problem.
That first one, and to be honest with you, I was like, that couldn't have worked out any better. He's going to have a good night in the corner, and that's going to screw up the Celtics defense. But he went cold after that.
Yeah, and it's going to happen again. The Celtics are going to throw that same coverage your way.
Yep.
Well, I don't know if P.J. Tucker overnight is going to be a three-point specialist like Danny Green. We have to pray that DeAnthony Melton shows up. Harden makes better decisions with the ball. But P.J. specifically with that matchup, he is what he is. So what do you do if you're Doc, who might be coaching for his job in another Game 7, by the way?
Now he is, yeah. Now he probably is.
I think more importantly, they took away P.J. Tucker under the basket getting the rebounds offensively. I mean, keeping him on the outside.
He only had one in the previous game.
He only had one in this one, did he?
Right, he only had one with the other lineup. That thing is something we notice when it's happening. He does a lot of yelling and stuff. He's got to actually do a little bit of basketball things in a Game 7. Despite the bad shooting, despite the referees, despite all the other issues, the thing that bothered me the most about the Sixers in the fourth quarter was they did not play smart. They didn't play smart. Just to reiterate, in a game in which they only scored 86 points at home, Embiid and Maxey scored 52 of them. 52 of them, those two players. So if you just get a medium effort, if you get a bad effort from everyone else, you score 100 points, you win 100-95, and you advance to the conference finals. Instead, if you take away Springer's shot in garbage time, the other players that played in the basketball game shot 25.6% in the game, and they lose. Now, we can say mismake. You can do a lot of things. But my issue isn't even that those players missed the shots, because they didn't miss them on purpose. But how is Maxey and Embiid not getting every damn one of those shots in the fourth quarter. That would have been smart. What they did wasn't smart.
86 points. It's almost impossible to have that poorly of a performance.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder about this series in general. It's so unpredictable. There's no flow game to game. It's so random. There's so many times I wonder how can that be? Even dating back to Jason Tatum's game where he scored 36, but he was minus 26.
Yeah.
Scoring that many points. I can't even digest it. So it's kind of wild because I'm trying to analyze each game and see if there's things I could grab onto. What can this game tell me about the next? There hasn't been any sort of rhythm to it whatsoever. It's like, I know every game has its own identity, but throughout a 7-game series, there are things stylistically that I think you can pull. I don't know what I could pull from any of this. It's like every single game is so random.
I thought this game was just sloppy. I thought the Sixers were sloppy offensively. I don't think they were very crisp. The passes weren't very crisp. The offense movement wasn't crisp. Nothing was right. There was something really, really off offensively. And I think we've talked about this, that you need somebody off the bench to be a hero every night against the Celtics. You didn't have a hero in last night's game.
And they had Brogdon when their number one
Brogdon
star
was unreal.
Yep, when their number one star in Tatum was struggling to make shots.
And Marcus Smart really stepped up in a big way. But the thing is, the Celtics were also extremely sloppy. Like, I'm looking at Jen's notes. She does all these great notes, right? So I was reading Jen's notes from the show. That's why you look at them.
18 turnovers.
I mean, the Celtics were terrible. That's the most in the playoff game this year was the Celtics.
And by the way, we all watched the game. How many of those turnovers were actually even forced turnovers?
The Celtics turnovers? Yeah. Well, I think most of them,
No, they were throwing the ball away
absolutely.
a lot.
Maxey was taking the ball. They were taking the ball from him.
Maxey, Melton, a couple of the guards had some steals at the top of the perimeter.
Yeah, I actually thought that that's the other part. The defensive effort was good.
Great.
The defensive effort, if they I mean, this is why there's hope. We're not in the hope phase of the show yet. We'll get there. But during the hope phase of the show, that's why you got to listen all 4 hours.
Yep.
During the hope phase of the show, the defensive effort, even though they were missing shots, is another reason why they can win Game 7. They absolutely played really good defense. You hold a team to 95 points, you got to be damn sure you finish them. Their offense was so bad. It was historically horrendous outside of 2 players. That's what kills you. That's why I'm so mad that anyone other than those 2 players were getting shots.
Here's a question for both of you, because a lot right now on social media is Doc's Game 7 record.
Yeah.
Now, me personally, I don't care what happened when he coached the Orlando Magic, when he coached the Celtics, when he coached the Clippers, the Sixers with Ben. None of that matters and applies to this Sixers team versus this Celtics team. That's my view. Any concerns on the history of Game 7 and Doc for you, Ty?
No, honestly, I think Game 7s a lot of times are random. I think over the long haul, if you coach enough games, you'll be 500 in Game 7s.
Ricky, how do you feel?
I don't think Doc has anything to do with what happens on the court on Sunday. And I will say this. My biggest odd concern, it's an odd concern. You've already taken 2 games in Boston. I don't know.
Can you take 3?
Can you take 3? I mean, that's a lot to ask in a series.
It is, but before the series began, I remember looking at a 6-8 and 14 home playoff games for the Celtics. Like, they were 6-8. Now, you could say maybe it'll even out more, but there's something to them playing in that building that they're not as solid as you would think they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
odd. It's very
odd. It's odd. All right. Let's go to the phones. Matt in Center City, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's up, Matt?
What's up, guys?
How are you?
I'm just really perturbed by the fact that we should have another max contract player on the team, not named Tobias Harris, and they probably would have already won a title and probably would have already won this series. Harden just happens to get the brunt of every single piece of scrutiny and criticism every single time. This guy has been stealing money for I don't know how long now, and you guys just don't even talk about it.
He's
like,
not.
Harris sucked. Whatever. Let's move on now.
No, see, not whatever, because he has the ball in his hands. And Tobias, while he stunk yesterday,
He was horrible yesterday.
his defense on Tatum. Do you like Tatum so far? Matt, do you enjoy Tatum in this series so far? Because he's been locked down by Tobias.
Tatum is proving your argument wrong because Tatum shot so poorly yesterday, but he kept shooting in the fourth, and he won them the game.
That's not proving my point
doesn't
wrong
prove
at all.
the point. They scored 95 points.
That's why they kept going to open players.
That doesn't prove my point at all.
You eventually make the shot.
but that was because of dribble penetration. They weren't just leaving him open to leave him open.
Dude,
the Celtics
NBA
guards.
Players, like they don't sit there and say, okay, we need to have the ball in his hand. They're moving the ball around. They're like, here's somebody that's open. This guy needs to make the shot. It's an open shot. They're trying to find space on the floor. Why wouldn't you want Melton taking those open shots? They're free shots. He should make them.
Everyone should make them. We don't actually disagree with the second part. We agree that Melton and Tobias and all those guys should make shots. I'm saying that there are people out there that look at the game and they say it's all on Embiid. They do that because they're lazy. So let's move past those people. Then we have to look at the actual game, okay? Regardless of how bad Tobias was shooting and Melton and all those bad players, do you agree, Matt, that they had the lead after the long break due to the referees after Maxey made those foul shots? They had the lead.
If Melton would have made those threes that he had, those three opportunities, probably would have won the game.
Then why are you mad at Tobias?
That's what I'm saying. Tobias.
I'm not just mad at Tobias, but Tobias is a max contract player.
You're right.
And he went for 16 and 11 in Game 5.
Can we get a list of all the max contract players and just pluck Tobias off the team and put one of them in, and you'll be like, wow.
So, you know what?
You
You know what, Matt? Maybe I'll do that. You know what, Matt? Maybe I'll do that. Thanks for the call. You know what? Maybe I'll do that. I mean, I don't know how it's going to fade, how it's going to look. I can tell you one max player that absolutely is way worse than Tobias.
Hit me.
Ben Simmons.
There you go.
Boom.
He sucks.
Now, look, I get being mad at Tobias Harris. I'm not saying he played good.
He was awful
played
offensively.
terrible, but look at what he did in Game 5.
This series, in totality, to act as if he's done zip is unfair. That's my point.
Absolutely.
That's my point. I think you're devaluing what he's doing to Tatum. That's all. That's my point. If you want to say he stinks offensively, by all means, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong because you are correct. But you can't pretend like guarding the other team's best player is something that we just throw in the trash.
He has been great defensively all series.
Great defensively. Not just good, not just hanging in there.
Yeah.
Tatum has really, I know yesterday's fourth quarter was awesome for him, but he's been very bad for a majority of this series offensively, Tatum has.
A pedestrian player he's been in large part until the fourth quarter yesterday where he was super money, but that's credit to his teammates to keep him in the game.
They did
And it
keep
was
him in the
obvious
game.
that they were, yeah.
If Embiid ever plays a game as bad as Tatum did through three quarters, the Sixers are down 40.
Yes.
That's true.
Now, if
That's what I
Embiid's
was
as bad
surprised
as
about.
Tatum was.
I was very surprised.
But that more speaks to what we've been saying all along. Boston has more
Depth.
good players. It's just that Embiid is the best player in the series because what he does on both ends of the floor that no one else can touch. 610-632-0975. Pete, you be first. He's got some concerns. It's a reaction day.